Triple Threat Podcast presented by Platinum Tier Events and Miami Ice. I'm your host, Scott Woodall, along with my co-host, David Hill, and Coach Blake Prestige. Tonight, we're joined in studio by some special guests. We've got the team at the top of 4A Area 14, the head coach from the Central Wildcats, Coach Josh Bryant. But tonight, we have a real special treat as we preview next week's Lauderdale County tournament. We've got the legend, Scott Jones, the principal at Allen Thornton Trade School, here in the building with us tonight. Welcome, Scott Jones.
Thank you. I don't know about legend, but I have watched a lot of basketball games over the course of the years and get to watch now. It's one thing that I don't have to go to a particular school, so I get to go watch everyone play at different times, and that's one of the real unique things about my job is I've got students, got players from every school in Lauderdale County, so I get to go and try to go watch all of them play over the course of the year.
Well, I tell you, we will have him pick with us as our guest picker as we pick the Lauderdale County tournament for both girls and boys, but looks like you got your Waterloo green on tonight.
That was just coincidence. It was kind of the next shirt in the closet, but I was at Waterloo coached down there for 17 years. Had some real fond memories. Worked with Coach Barry McFall, Coach Mike Stamps. We had some Coach Tanner Robertson. We had some real good teams over those years. Won some really big games. When I was there, we didn't play just a 1A schedule. We played most of the 4A teams, the Wilsons, Centrals, Rogers every year nearly, and then our 1A at that point in time when you had Hazelwood, Cortland part of the time, R.A. Hubbard, and then you had teams like Belgreen that was really good in the state. Then towards the end when Shoals, Christian, and Covenant came along and they had some of the really good teams till we played some really good basketball games over the course of those years.
Well, I tell you, we're excited to have you, and we're going to catch up with you a lot about your time in basketball and the history of the Lauderdale County tournament. And of course, we'll pick the games, but we'll also talk to Drew Murphy, the girls coach at Central. He'll be our guest on the air tonight. We'll recognize our players of the week for both boys and girls. But before we do all that, Blake and David, how was your week?
It was a good week for me. Excited about the county tournament coming up. This is always one of the best weeks for high school basketball in our area, especially in Lauderdale County, with such a rich tradition of the county tournament. But I know it was a big week for a lot of teams in their area. I know there's a little bit more clarity in that 4A boys area as far as, what it's going to come down to. Colbert County and their area, they're going to end up hosting. But my Rogers Pirates had a big week, so that was good. So I know we're going to talk about that later, but it was a good week. David?
Yeah, same here. A lot of good basketball. Got to watch a lot of good games from our games were at Lexington to a lot of the 4A area games, and 3A was interesting as well. Got to see the Tide roll over Kentucky yesterday, which was great. So it was a good week. I'm excited for this week, though, and get to spend some time at the county tournament. It's always a treat. So, how about you?
And a big treat also is having Josh Bryant on. I know you guys, Coach, have had a great year. I mean, you guys are sitting at the top, kind of just awaiting what happens between the Deshler matchups against Hatton and Wilson to kind of see your fate. But you got to like where you're at.
We do. We've had a good season. We had an opportunity this week to win the area outright, but Brooks come over to our place and played well, and we had a bad second and third quarter, but they're a really tough team. So now we're sitting back and waiting. If Deshler wins both games, we'll have to flip a coin. It's kind of sad that that's what it comes down to in some ways, but we was able to take care of business at Hatton and give us that opportunity anyways if things plays out the way it could.
What do you think it is about, and we had Coach Rusty Mertz from Brooks on last week, and he kind of openly admitted that his teams tend to struggle when they play Deshler, something that you guys and your teams haven't done. But yet you also talked about how you guys tend to struggle against Brooks. We also had the player of the week last week, Bryant Handback, and he shared a little bit of that same, thing in terms of like Is it matchups or what is it? What could you say it is?
I think it's a lot of matchups. It's a matchup thing, and I think it's a confidence thing. We've seen to play well against Deshler, and in the past we struggle sometimes against Brooks. So I think a lot of it's a mental game. Both Brooks games we played well in the first quarter though, but we played bad in the second quarter, and they seem to just kind of stay steady, whereas we have that 3 or 4 minute spell where we don't play well. And I think that's been the difference for us so far, and we just got to try to solve that riddle, I guess, if we get them again.
And, you know, I was texting with you a lot during the game. I had picked against you, a big mistake for me, but I picked Deshler in that game, and I was texting with Scott Jones, and I think they might have had a shot toward the end at the buzzer. Garrett Reed took a long half-court shot that I think caught iron, if I'm not
It hit the back
mistaken.
rim. I thought it was going
Hit
in.
the back of the rim. Of course, Central missed a few free throws that would have put the game away and had maybe a turnover. So Deshler was real scrappy at the end when they kind of turned it loose, but Central did enough to hold on to win. But that was really an exciting basketball game.
And there's been a lot of exciting games in that area, and I think it's shaping up to be a great area tournament. But probably no more excitement than having the Lauderdale County tournament this upcoming week. And we've probably got some of the most diversity, Coach, that we've had with the teams, you know, from top to bottom, both in girls and boys. There's probably a couple of the girls' teams that unfortunately will probably face each other before a championship game. But did you guys go to any games this week? I know you said your Pirates had a good week. You probably saw some of them
Yeah,
play.
they did. They had a big win against Lauderdale County Tuesday night and then against Colbert County last night. But as far as the county tournament goes, especially on the guys' side, and there's been several years that going into it, you know, where we've said, you know, there could be 4 or 5 teams that could win it. This year, it could really go any way. You know, I watched Lexington and Lauderdale County play Friday night. You know, Lexington's a team that, you know, they could get hot and they could win some games. So, and we're seeing a lot of too, which is high school kids, you know, week by week, one team's hot one week, they're cold the next week. So it's going to come down to whoever's hot this week, whoever's, you know, gelling together, making shots. And that's most of the time it is, but it's going to be fun to watch because it could literally go in a number of different ways in the county tournament, on the boys' side especially.
Yeah.
David, you saw probably a good game against Lauderdale County when your Bears were playing them. I think that was a 2-point finish. I mean,
Yeah, it was a nearly a buzzer beater. It was a tied game with about 18 seconds left. There's a turnover at the end. Lauderdale County gets it back, and then LeMay has a good shot. It looks like the ball goes in the net, and it rolls out. It was a really good game. County-wise, though, it's just really wide open. There's a lot of good teams. And I think it's a lot of credit to we have a lot of good coaches in our county.
We do.
Really
We do.
poured into the game and poured into their programs. And there's a lot of really good teams across the county, boys and girls. And I like where kind of the direction of where basketball is going in our county. And I think it will just continue to get better. And I think, that's a testament to these guys and coaches that have really poured in and are just growing the game. And hopefully that can be something we can contribute in this coverage and different things to motivate it to keep going. And but I'm excited for this week, especially tomorrow.
well, what do you guys want to do now? You want to call Drew Murphy,
Yeah.
talk to him?
Yeah.
Let's call Coach Murphy.
So we're going to get Drew Murphy on the phone, and while we're waiting to get him on the phone, you know, he's got the player of the week this week.
Yeah.
She's had a good week. Isla
Hardy.
Party.
Yeah, a freshman who's been putting up solid numbers for him all year. And I've mentioned, you know, several times on the show that Central has impressed me this year. The first time I saw him play Lauderdale County, and which, like, you know, most teams when they play Lauderdale County, it didn't go great for them, but they competed their tails off for 4 quarters. They play extremely hard, and they've got some good athletes, and Coach Murphy's done an outstanding job. You know, I could tell last year when we played them, they're doing things the right way. So there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to continue to grow in that program and improve and be a force of the future. But yeah, they're a young team, but Coach Murphy's doing an outstanding job with them.
Some key young pieces too. building blocks.
Well, let's see if we can get him on the phone. We might have to get you to send
Your
him.
call has been forwarded to voicemail.
Maybe
Hey,
essential service.
he's probably watching film.
Well, he probably didn't know.
But no, yeah, that's true. We need to send him a text and say, hey, answer your phone.
Well, Coach Murphy's took his same game plan he used in volleyball. When he took over the volleyball program, well, they just started getting better every year and doing things right, working hard. And now this is his, he's moving on into basketball. You can see they're getting better as the year goes. The first time they played Wilson beat them pretty good. And then the other night they had a chance to win the game. They was there, and like against Deshler with about 2 minutes left to play in the first half, it was a 6-point game, and Central had the basketball. They could cut it to 4. Now they come out, and the youth showed in the third quarter, and Deshler made a big run, but they played with them, for a half, and so they're gradually getting better. Just keep working, and they're going to be a team to reckon with. They're one of those teams you don't want to play in a tournament because you never know. That's the time can they put it all together that week and in that game.
Did you hear from Blake?
I heard from him. Yeah, I think we can give him a call now.
We're good to roll now.
I think last year too. I think they upset Lexington in the first round of the county tournament. I thought they did. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, Coach Murphy.
Hey.
You're on the air on the Shoals Triple Threat podcast. This is Coach Scott Whittle. I'm joined tonight by Scott Jones. I got Coach Blake Prestige, Coach David Hill, and another guy you might know, Coach Josh Bryant. How you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm good. How are y'all doing?
We're doing great, and we're really appreciative of the time that you're taking to be on the show. And we've admired what you've done with this young Central Wildcat basketball team. And oftentimes with a new coach coming in and taking over a program that's got a lot of young players, and maybe some not just young, but maybe some inexperienced players. The wins might not always translate, which you guys have been able to win some games, but you want to see teams improve. And I think you're seeing that with your girls. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. And thanks for having me on tonight, guys. And I do want to mention that I appreciate what you guys are doing to kind of shed light on the players around here and the teams and everything. But, yeah, when you come in and you got a young group, it's going to be hard to win sometimes. And I think one thing we've really focused on has been don't look at the wins and losses. We talk a lot about culture, and I know that word gets thrown around a lot nowadays, but it really is important. And culture is not wins and losses. Culture is what you do every day in practice, how hard you work, how hard you get out there and compete every day, what you're doing in the off season. And those are the little things we've really tried to focus on. Not get caught up in all the wins and losses. Those come and go year in, year out. But culture, if you can get a sustaining culture in the long run, that's how you build. So that's really what we've kind of focused on this year, and just being that team that really sets the standard for our basketball program.
Coach, I couldn't agree with you more about building a culture. Scott, before you came on the phone, he talked about the success you guys have had in volleyball, and we know that you've had tremendous success in volleyball, numerous trips to the state tournament. Talk about things you've done, to build the basketball program that sort of correlate with things you do in the volleyball program as well.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the same in a lot of ways. In volleyball, we kind of had to figure out what worked for us. Mm-hmm. As far as like the clientele, who you got year in and year out, typically we're kind of undersized a little bit. And we just kind of focused on what can we do to maximize what we got and be good at what we do. And we're trying to do the same things in basketball, figure out what works for us. And one thing, just to kind of relate the two, defense has been pretty big. I mean, we don't have a lot of big girls in volleyball, so we have to be really good defensively. Mm-hmm. And we're kind of trying to do the same things now. I mean, we've struggled at times this year. I mean, you can go look in the Times Daily and look at the girls that have hit some high point games, and you'll see us listed sometimes, unfortunately. But we've really tried to hone in on that. And just giving different looks too, zone, press, man, and just trying to throw different things in there. And so we've really looked at that, and like I said, things that can make us good at what we do. And I to be honest, Coach Prestige, I mentioned your teams a lot, and when we were sitting there talking in practice one day, we were doing this drill. We call it perfect defense, where you had to go for a minute. Any mistake, you got to go back down to 0, and you're trying to make it for a full minute of having a good defensive possession and man-to-man. And in my rant, I think I brought up, what was the team that we struggled with last year? They just beat us up man-to-man, like tough defense, and Rogers was the one they all mentioned. So we're just trying to do those types of things on our end,
I like it. Well, Coach, tell us about your team. Tell us about some of your players that we need to look out for this week, and some kids that have, put the work in and improved this year for you.
Yeah, well, I got 2 seniors. They've been in the program for a long time, but before I came back, and Maggie Huffaker and Allie Thompson, and they work hard every day. Maggie has really been a vocal leader for us. Allie gets out there, and she's not as vocal, but she works hard. Doesn't neither one of them score a ton, but they're out there playing tough defense, trying to get rebounds, just being real physical. And you've obviously got to have those individuals out there on the court. And then 2 juniors, our point guard Lillian Moore, she's also one of those kind of vocal leaders on the court. Miley Tucker comes off the bench, gets us good minutes. She's a pretty good spot-up shooter. And we got 3 sophomores. Jill Huffaker, she's our starting center. She's been big for us. I mean, we've pretty much every game we've won this year, she's just about had a double-double. And we kind of had a funny stat going early in the year of, when we won, like, yeah, we're 1-0 when Jill has a double-double, or, and these types of things. And then we've got 2 more sophomores that come off the bench, Marley Gurley and Ann Catherine Griffith, and they both get good minutes for us, play hard. And then we got 6 freshmen. So, we're pretty young. Isla Hardy has been a really good player for us this year. She gets after it. She's just a ball of energy, every day. And she keeps working and improving. And she gets good points for us and just does a lot of good things, even on the press and getting steals and turnovers and things. And Paisley Tyser, she's a freshman that's come off the bench and played really good minutes. And we had a lot of injuries earlier this year. She just got in there and mixed it up. And she's just real physical. She's not real big yet. She's going to get there, but she's physical and plays hard. Then we've got Rayleigh Poole and Mariana Delbert, Claire Bowling, and those individuals all play good minutes for us and work really hard as well. So,
Coach, man, we've enjoyed watching your team. This is David, by the way, and I'm enjoying seeing the growth that y'all have had, and it's exciting to see the growth that you got, and that's really what you want when you have a young team like that. And that's hats off to you for the job that you've done and just the growth they've had all year. And we're excited to see how y'all finish this out, and wish you luck in the coin toss that's coming up. And just hope it goes well for you. And again, we appreciate you giving us you always do a really good job of promoting your kids and your team and giving us all the information we need. And we're really thankful for that, and wish you well moving forward.
I appreciate it, David. I do want to mention one more that came back this year that didn't play last year. That she's not getting a ton of minutes right now, but she's another one that's like a ball of energy out there in the court. Micah Beth Ray. She was one when I was lifting off my freshman there. I was like, wait a second, I missed one there, but she's working real hard as well. So I hate to leave her out.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got back in hopefully a coin toss, and I don't know if I'll get to call it or not, but I did reference Chat GPT the other day to see if he could give me any artificial intelligence advice if I get to call it, what's better, heads or tails, and it gave me the standard answer. Well, it's a 50-50 shot. So that's great.
Well, my advice is to avoid the team that has a woman that's won 923 games. I think she just tied the record for most wins ever coaching basketball. And I know
that's pretty sound advice.
It's
they're tough.
They are. But I know y'all will compete no matter what you got, no matter who shows up, and that's all you can ask for. So
that's all I ask for. That's what we talk about every day. We talk about playing hard, but to a point, it's not just playing hard; it's competing. Playing hard is yeah, you might go dive for a ball competing as you're going to get that loose ball. So we talk a lot about that. And, yeah, anybody, I told him, whether the corn toss goes our way or not, let's go stick it to anybody we play. Let's see where the chips fall. So
Right.
Well, Coach, best of luck to you. We appreciate you coming on. We've got a ton of respect for you and the job you're doing with that program, and looking forward to seeing bright things out of the Central Lady Wildcats in the future.
Well, I appreciate y'all having me on.
And, Coach, before we let you go, I think it's important to let you know that we've selected Isla Hardy as our Miami Ice Player of the Week for this week for her performance in your games. And I wanted to let you know that. And I wanted to ask you before we hang up with you, two things. One's probably going to be an easy one, but if you and Ryan Robertson were playing one-on-one, who would win? And and do you have a funny Josh Bryant story that you can share, knowing that he's sitting in here?
Jones, too. He was there.
Yeah.
At Central as well. So
Yeah, right. So, okay, one-on-one with me and Coach Rob.
Yes.
Oh, it's hands down. I mean, it's me for sure. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think if I just dribbled around for a little bit, he may gas. I'm kidding.
No, you're not. That's true.
not.
That's true.
Ryan's a trickster, man. Ryan's got some skill to his game. I've seen him play.
Oh, I know he can play. Yeah, I know. I hope he gasses out. If he don't, he's liable to wreck me.
What about some Scott Jones, Josh Bryant story, memory, whatever?
I don't know. There's one that comes to my mind with Coach Bryant. I don't know that I'll share it though. But it's probably this here right now too. It's honestly when I wouldn't coach, and it was in those intermediate years when I was just doing volleyball. But no, there's a funny story when I first started back with Norman Lovelady years ago. Me and Coach Bryant and Norman, and I think the Oakley brothers, Eric and Jonathan, went with us to a coaching clinic, and it was in Tunica. And we were sitting there, and we're at the coaching clinic, and Jim Boeheim he's the big speaker of the night. We're all hyped. Oh, Jim Boeheim, we're going to get the insights to 2-3 zone. As y'all know, Coach Bryant's not huge on zones, but if you're going to learn about a zone, it might as well be from him. So we're all sitting there with our pens out and our paper open, ready to get all this great stuff. And the first thing Boeheim says when he gets out there is, if you can't recruit long-range guys, this ain't for you. And we immediately just all shut our notepads and put our pens down. All right. Yep. You want to go eat?
Well, we appreciate you so much, and thanks for taking time to come on. And good luck tomorrow. I think you guys have Wilson in the first game.
We do. Yes, sir.
So good luck against Wilson in the opening round of the county tournament. That was Drew Murphy, the women's coach at Central. I like Drew, man. I tell you, we've had a lot of good guests on the air, but man, I really like him, and I've admired his volleyball coaching for a while. And I brought up the coach Rob because I know they're good friends. And
well, you can see why he's been successful in coaching by listening to the things he says about building a culture, competing. All those little things. So that's why they're successful. That's why, I've been high on them all year, and there's no doubt that we're going to see improvement out of that program in the future the longer he's there, because he's a top-notch coach, does a great job.
He works at it just like he went at it in volleyball, I can remember back when volleyball wasn't very popular, and you had guys like Drew Murphy and Coach Rob, in the county that along with some of the other coaches that had already been there, they really put a lot of energy in it. Well, now Drew's putting that same energy in basketball, and so he's really turning that culture, getting those girls to buy in and work hard, and they're just going to do good things, just going to keep getting better. So with that young group he's got, and they've got a good junior high, they're going to keep getting better, and will be a force to be reckoned with in the future.
Yeah.
Coach Bryant, getting to work with him every day, and now in his first year, do you guys share ideas? What's it like?
We do a little bit. I mean, it's interesting to watch how his girls compete in the weight room sometimes. Like, it's surprising to me. I've even messed with some of our guys that's not as strong before. I'm like, hey, that girl up there's hang cleaning just as much as you can. So he does a really good job with his weights with the girls, and I think it's kind of showing up for him in both sports. So, but yeah, he works those girls really hard, and it's paying off for them, and you're really seeing improvement, as y'all are saying. I mean, they're playing people tough. And one of our things I started to mention a minute ago, but we mentioned a lot this year, how many times are we going to get back on the bus where we both won? And in the past, it hadn't happened a lot. And it's happened 2 or 3 times already now this year to where we both won a game, and that was a huge win for them the other night over in Hatton. So he's doing a really good job with those girls.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You want to do some basketball boy stat stuffers, or you want to talk about some stuff before we get into the Lauderdale County
or you want to
tournament?
go ahead and stick with girls and roll through them?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, we can
Let's
look at
get in
some
there, a little
girls.
stat sheet stuffer for the girls. So from obviously, Isla Hardy had another had a really good week for them. And this is not somebody we talked about a lot, but that Hill girl from RC she's really good.
I've heard people saying that she's a pretty good player. I need to see her. Now, Bill Hill had another big week, 24 and 38. Lillian Willingham for Brooks in a losing effort. I know Scott's mentioned her several times. She had 27. Points against the Central Lady Wildcats. So shout out to Miss Willingham. Of course, Isla Hardy had 17 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 steals. She's a few stats away from a triple-double. And another 17-point effort this week for the Lady Wildcats. From Wilson, Sadie Grace Bonds, and Anna Simone, each scores 17 points.
Blake, can I interrupt you
Yes,
right here?
sir.
Sadie Grace, I saw she played really good. I coached her dad. I told her the other night over there after the game, I said, I may need to get a DNA test. I was telling her daddy there, I said, the way she plays and the way you play, and he just died laughing. And he said, you were right. He said, I'm proud she don't play like I do. And so yeah, he said, I'm proud she don't play like I do, but she plays really hard. Watched her grow up. So yeah. So
That would shoot the ratings up.
It's going to get a few more laughs.
Yeah. Well, I told you that she just didn't play anything like he did.
And she's played well. I think she's a senior this year. So
and has
I've
already
coached her.
signed committed in softball.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's a good athlete and been a good player for them since her 9th or 10th grade year because we competed against them. So and I'll say this about Wilson too. We talked on last week's show about seeing how they would show up and compete against Deshler, and I know it ended up Deshler pulled away in the second half, but Wilson sort of hung around that game for a while, so that was sort of promising to see. So, looking at that possibly in the future as an area matchup. So, but for Deshler, of course, Reese Davis continued. She had a huge week, had 31 points and 34 points for the Lady Tigers. So she continues to have a solid year. The Colbert County Lady Indians. Joan Ricks had 20 points to lead the Indians, while Ashlyn Harris scored 17. For Colbert Heights, Hadley Helms.
A few good games.
She had a few games, 18-point games. For
you may need to give Jones an assist on this.
Mabry Ford's a 9th grader that had 31 for Waterloo, and Addie Pollard 15. I coached Addie's mother, and so they're both really quick, really athletic. Mabry has come in. She transferred in last year from up in Tennessee. Of course, she doesn't live, but if you know where Waterloo is, the state line's not but 7 miles up the road there. And so she come from and transferred in from up in Hardin County and has had a really good career so far, and just expect big things from her and Mabry as she grows. And
You said she's a freshman?
yes, she's a freshman. Mabry is.
31 points?
Yes.
You ever scored 31 points in a game?
No.
No. Okay.
Jones, tell us the truth.
No.
Hill scored 32 in a game. I've been looking it up.
David
I haven't
Hill,
found it
oh,
yet,
yeah.
but it's got to be out there. I'm waiting for the
Flashback.
silver anniversary edition to come out again so I can find out what he did. But, man, Loretto, Allie Weathers.
Allie Weathers had a big week,
Dominant.
27-16. Usual suspects, Lauderdale County, Shallow Marks had a big week. She had 34 and 20. So she surpassed Allie Craig Cruz with career points. So that's a huge accomplishment. Anytime you pass a player that
21 out of 25 3-pointers in the second round last night of the 3-point skills competition at the county tournament.
won the 3-point contest.
She won it
3 points.
in the second round, though. She hit 21 out of 25. That's pretty strong.
Yeah.
Stronger than a garlic milkshake.
And for the Florence Lady Falcons, Kenise Thurkill had 18 points, and including the go-ahead 3-pointer. And Talia Rao finished with 17 points and 6 assists. So Florence Lady Falcons still continue to have a solid year with much improvement. So congratulations to all those ladies. Had big weeks, and looking forward to watching them play down the stretch here of the season.
Well, and thinking of talking points for these girls too, you think of, such a huge accomplishment of, Coach Keelan that we talked about, tying for as many wins as anyone in the state. It's just unreal.
919. She can be the all-time leader, I guess, this week when they play, Wilson?
I think other talking points for the girls was, you had Shyla had 2,000. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Can you scroll up to that, Jeremy? Yeah. Well, to the talking points for the girls, I think I made a note of this. Keep on going up. Yes, maybe down a little bit more. There we go. Down. There we go. Perfect. I think Shyla ended up with 2,000. We had some other key on the boys' side with girls, and then you had Lauderdale County, who had a huge week. They were 4-0. Had 2 huge area wins, 1 big rival win against Lexington, and then they went and played a team from Mississippi. I can't remember the name.
Ingomar. I think it was Ingomar, out of Mississippi.
So they had the Gatorade.
They're back-to-back defending state champions. Yeah,
Coach Clemens said they had the Gatorade Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And that she had actually, against them, I think they held her to 16, but she had broke the record for most points in the whole state of Mississippi ever against them last night.
I think the biggest girls' talking points this week, we're finally going to get to see that, more than likely, that Lauderdale County Mars Hill matchup in the semifinals of the county tournament, which we've been eagerly anticipating. So that I know we'll talk about that later.
Wait a minute. Blake's already just dismissing Waterloo girls against Mars Hill in that opening match.
It's going to be hard to beat Bell Hill, and you looking at the collision between Bell Hill and Shyla Marks in that semifinal game. I think you'll draw a big crowd for that. There'll be a lot of people interested to see how that goes.
He can't talk about jumping the gun, because I'll never forget. I think it was 2 years ago at the county tournament. I'm standing there talking to Llewellyn on Monday night, and he walks up and says, "Well, this is a preview of the championship game Saturday night right here, isn't it?" And I was thinking, man, So no, he can't talk about jumping the gun now.
Is that true?
I went over there and talked to them there. They was over there already planning strategy there.
That's not true. No.
Look. Talk about something that was true. I got to know, back in your coaching days,
all right,
in the county tournament, you guys were down in a game, and a team they had a little 1-3-1 that you guys just couldn't do anything with. And instead of taking your team to the locker room, I heard you kept them out there and showed them how to beat a 1-3-1. And you guys, I think, scored half a dozen times on it and ended up winning that game. Is that true?
That would be correct. It was at a timeout at the end of the third quarter. And I called I kept them out during the third quarter, and then I called another timeout to go on where I had time to go over it. We had a B-team girls team that we had played some of them on the varsity and some of them on the junior high, and kind of had put them together. We had gone over it earlier in the year, but nobody had used a 1-3-1 half-court trap against us. And so once we got them lined up right and kind of refreshed their memory on what to do, we was able to throw the diagonal pass and look at the girl on the backside. If she was up, we'd throw the diagonal. If she was back, we would make the guard-to-guard pass and work the ball on down. And so, that is actually true that I kept them out on the floor and called another timeout
Who are y'all playing?
Was playing Marseille in the county tournament in the old gym at Wilson. That's where it was. So I can.
Well, as we go through some of these Scott Jones stories, parental discretion is advised. But
There's
also,
a lot of parental talk with
listen,
Scott. Dean ain't that? Parental
also,
discussion.
what about the time that your buddy Barry McFall? I think guys might have been playing. I can't remember who you were playing, but he jumped up and he blew his pants out. And you said to him, "Hey man, you just busted out the rear of your pants," you know?
Yeah, he said that he had been that they accused him of showing his butt figuratively, so said he couldn't sit down. He's just going to have to literally do it there. And at halftime, we got some tape in there and taped him up. And so, yeah, he blowed the whole pocket of his pants out coaching.
You're talking now. Look, I got to help him out. I got to defend Barry. Okay, you talk about he's been accused of showing his butt. You would never been accused of showing your butt.
No, I don't know what that. Barry didn't either. We just got accused of it.
Well,
I don't know.
What about the time that you beat Central? And I think they were giving McFall some trouble or yelling, whatever, not. And you turned and did a little Hulk Hogan move.
That might have been true. That might have been true. That was when we had a real good team, and they did, and their loud crowd was behind us, and they was hooping and hollering and come in, and Barry turned around and asked them, said, "Are y'all going to holler all game?" And they thought that we was like going to try to make them be quiet or whatever, and they was, yes, we are. And he said, "Even in the fourth quarter?" And so, yeah, we are. And I said, "Even when we're up 20?" And so so when it happened, we was actually up 20. Central fouled out about 6 or 7 players, and when we kept hitting free throws, and the crowd just kind of started dwindling away. We had a real good team. That was probably 01, and we had a real good team. Went to the regional tournament and wound up in the sub-region game. We beat the kid from Hubbardville, was about 6'8", that went to Birmingham Southern, or I believe it was. Had a real good season that year. So Central had a real good team, but our kids was really up for that game, and we knew what it was going to be like. And that was the fun part about it, because a lot of those students that was hooping and hollering at us then I had their kids when they was at Central, and talked to one of them the other day that he's one of the Florence electricians, keeps our power on, that you develop these, that during the game it's heated, it's a battle, and after the game, you talk and cut up and you're friends, but they didn't want to stay around for when it had got to that point.
Well, let's rewind the clock just a little bit farther to a time in '93. We didn't have text messaging and emailing, so I think I heard that they wrote the Hackleburg folks wrote a letter to the principal.
That's about 94 or 5 there, I think.
And said, "Hey, Scott Jones, he's mean to all of us. Our bookkeepers, our refs, our fans." That can't be true.
Well, when you went to some of the places south of here that you got on past Colbert County, well, you really had to watch, because they took care of their home team, and so you had to take somebody to watch your bookkeeper. You wanted to keep your book, but then somebody to watch their bookkeeper. And also, you got down in some of that area, and some of those Marion County officials, they didn't call it. We've had some people around here miss calls, but they normally wouldn't. You didn't think they was cheating you. Well, down there, you had some homers. I'll just tell you, you had some homers, and so we would actually have to look on the list to scratch some of them. Have to call the state to scratch some of the officials that we would have or possibly have down there.
Well, you mentioned cheating. Now that's not something you'd ever do, right?
No.
Well, how about let's forget the basketball talk for a second. Did you ever coach 11 and 12-year-old baseball?
I did.
And did you steal the signals where the other team was telling their coach, "Coach, I think they know our what's coming"?
Well,
you wouldn't do that.
That's not cheating. I mean, that's just watching the game. I mean, I probably if they're not good enough to disguise their signals, that's their coach's fault. That's not my fault. But I can pick them up. Well,
you didn't realize that Whittle did a background check on you before you.
When I knew when Skylar McFall called me and said, "I heard you're going to be on the podcast," I knew that he had talked to Barry and Skylar.
I had plenty of people, plenty of things to say. But we don't have time to talk about all of them. But those were just some of the highlights that I want to touch. And you mentioned Skylar McFall, and I asked him, he's a big guy like me, and I said, "Skylar, how did you score so many points when you played?" and he told me our offense didn't start till I got down the court. And so I appreciate you.
I'll tell you about Skyler there. When he was about 18 months old, we was sitting on the bleachers over there, and his daddy started over to the locker room at the end of the third quarter. Well, about that time, he realized that about the time play started, and he started out on the court. And so I run out and scoop him up and just carry him. I was already on that side. If you've ever been to Athens Bible, the bleachers are on one side and the locker room's on the other. So I was closer to that side, carried him on in the locker room, and he's been going to the locker room ever since. He was about 18 months old, and he started going, and then, he started practicing with me in the first grade. When I was coaching junior high, he would come there with his daddy, and so I'd put him in a drill if we needed an extra player to complete the drill. And then now he's coaching, and so been coaching his team. He's assistant on made state championship game last year in Tennessee. So
awesome.
Good for him.
Coaches, listen, if any of you three coaches ever called back-to-back timeouts to work on something that you were struggling on in game.
Not on I have called back-to-back timeouts, but not on the floor. I haven't done that, no. But
I never ever got them on the floor like that either, though. There's a lot of times I probably should have, though.
The same. I probably needed to the other night against Brooks and go over something against that man-to-man, but...
Well, I appreciate you being a good sport about it. And we look forward to hearing your picks as we go through the girls and boys brackets.
Jones and Mania running wild.
Talk about you've seen a lot of county tournaments. Talk about some of the most memorable moments or biggest crowds or just the history. I went to, a few years ago, I went and watched a Loretto, Lawrence County, Tennessee game. And it was at Lawrence County. There was a huge crowd there, but it didn't seem it didn't seem that raucous or intense. And somebody described it to me as, well, this is more of a social event, which the county tournament is sort of that as well, but I think it has the atmospheres too. So just talk about the county tournament for a little while.
And you said social event. I think used to people got to see one another all at one place at the county tournament. Now kids have social media. They're friends. They play travel ball, travel baseball, travel basketball all together, and so they get to socialize. But at the county tournament, it used to be the event of the year, and people would, the people would come. They would be people that wouldn't go to a game all year, but they would be at the county tournament. And so, our history of our county tournament, I've been going and watching it close since about the mid-'80s, and you've watched the games over the years. Lauderdale County's girls has been a constant. They may not have won it. They've had different rivals. The late '80s was Wilson, and then you had Mars Hill and them had some rivals, and then Lexington and them had some rivals, and then y'all at Rogers had, but they've been a constant, that they've been a key player. I'm not saying they've been in the finals every year, but they've been a factor in it. Before I actually started there, Central won a load of the county tournaments in the 70s.
Central won every one in the 70s, didn't they?
Won like 10 in a row.
I thought they did. Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then Coach Willis came in at Brooks and really turned that program. You played for him and the Brooks then become a constant in the boys over the years, with different ones stepping up as their rival. In the last few years, Brooks and Lauderdale counties had some real big rival games. David, y'all had some good teams in the early 2000s there. There, Coach Toner, and y'all had some real good teams with them. Central's battled them over the years. Mars Hill has been a constant in the tournament. They've always really had good teams, and so the county tournament has been it's something that, and I don't think some people put as much emphasis on it now as they used to. We used to, to junior high, that's it. That is your final. That's your final event, and so
tell us some of the best games you remember. Come to mind.
There's been a world of games over the years that, just thinking about best games, probably some of those Brooks Central games in the late early mid '80s, when you had Patrick Hughes and Byron Greer,
Yeah.
Barnett, and some of those at Brooks, and you had like Chris Hooks and Jim Cunningham and Randy Huckabee, Janera Scott at Central. Those games, there's like 2 years in a row, they was just total wars there. There was a Mars Hill Brooks game back, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago. It went down to the final shot.
Yeah.
Some of the girls' games, the Wilson Mars Hills games in like the late 80s when you had Amber D'Elia, Kim Slayton, at Wilson, and you had those Mars Hill teams with Karen Killen. Those games were really, good games that the fans all went to watch, and something you'll get in the county tournament. People will go watch a game when it's not their team playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That they want to see who's going to win that county tournament. They'll go. You'll have two teams playing, and there'll be a lot of people from the other schools there watching them. So it's a
Blake's game against Lauderdale County.
Yeah.
They all had a buzzer beater.
with them. Yes,
we
at the
did.
end of the game there,
Really good game.
that they got a backside shot there
Yep.
At Lexington, I think.
when it
Yeah,
drove.
that was at Lexington. Yeah.
And so it was, just the excitement in the air over the years, and you see the kids get a little more pep in their step when they get to thinking about the county tournament.
I can remember as a kid going to watch. I think it was 2 years in a row. Brooks played Mars Hill in the finals.
Yeah.
Corey Merckx against Josh Willingham. That was like watching Michael Jordan against Magic Johnson to me as a kid. So that's a memory I always have. If you had to take one team, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. One boys team from the mid '80s to now, and you to win a game, the best team you've seen in Lauderdale County. Who you taking? Because you've seen all of them.
That's tough. But I'm gonna tell you the Brooks '86 team with Patrick Hughes. You had a 6'7" center. You had size. You had depth. You had guards, and they proved it because they went to like the semis of the state down there. That team was really good as far as and girls. We've had so many state championships.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, which one of the Lauderdale County's teams are you going to say? Wallen 1, 2, or 3. They had those teams. You had those
I
teams.
got one I would nominate with them.
That had several
Had
before them.
Lyles, had Allie.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's what.
Triplets. I mean, it was a.
That you've had so many good girls teams, and like I say, those teams, that '89 Wilson team that won the state was really good, and then a lot of people don't realize in '90 they went back to the finals, and they played Winona and got beat. Winona was the third biggest school in the state. They had combined some schools, and so they didn't reclassify till the next year, and they only got beat 2 or 4 points, and they was really playing one of the biggest schools in the state. So, and that's something that you look at is how girls basketball has evolved. Then the state championship game was at Calhoun, at the community college.
Yeah, B.J. Tully posted that.
And now the girls' games evolved just at the
Civic Center,
and draws as big a crowd as the guys' games do.
Yeah.
Most dominant boys players and girls players that come to mind. You don't have to name you don't have to name one. Just name some.
Some
really
of them
stand out.
Well, what he mentioned there, Josh Willingham, Corey Merckx. You had Patrick Hughes, Chris Hooks, Janera Scott from Central. You had some back then. You had the girls, Amber D'Elia, Kim Slayton, Karen Killen, the Wallen girls, Brittany Godsey, Allie Craig Cruz. You had, you've had just dominant players.
Milton Nance from Brooks.
Milton Nance was a super player. Then on back, Dustin Wright at Mars Hill was a really dominant player.
Yeah.
And so LaToya Webster, Vanita Perkins at Central were two girls that were really dominant. Tanya, she's Tanya Young now, was Tanya Helton then. So we have really produced some good ball players over the years. you could probably get some people in there that could go a little further, go back to the 70s,
Yeah.
the 60s and so forth. That
My dad was talking about Travis Butler today. You may have been too young to remember him.
Yeah, Travis Butler. I've read on him and studied him. Travis Butler, and this is the research we can find, was the last player to sign a Division I basketball scholarship out of a county school in Lauderdale County until Canute. Until Canute did.
You know who he signed with?
He signed with Kentucky with Adolph Rupp.
Correct.
And then he came back and he won a national championship at Athens. Athens State in the mid to 60s there.
So next time you go in Lauderdale County's old gym, just know, because this is true, Adolph Rupp has been to Lauderdale County's old gym and watched a game, which, nowadays that would be huge. I bet back then there was no social media. Nobody probably even knew about it, but that's pretty cool history, I think, that he's been to. Yeah. He's been in that gym.
Here's another random one. Did y'all know that Deion had a girl that played at Alabama A&M? Deion Sanders?
I think I did know that.
But no. He was at Alabama A&M last night. You saying that made me think of prime time?
Well, and Gene Stallings, when he come to recruit Patrick Hape, he came to Central to watch Brooks and Central play basketball.
Really?
And was there to recruit Patrick Hape to play football at Alabama.
Yeah.
And so that was a neat deal. And you'll see a lot of these. Then part of their open period was during basketball season.
Yeah.
So the college football coaches would be out. And they also said they could watch them, the athleticism of a kid and watch them to see how they competed. That they was up a little closer than they was in football, watching them off at a distance.
They still do that. So
and so that was a deal.
I'm gonna make you really dig back and think right here, Scott. So for the coaches and the administrators and a big part of the county tournament is the hospitality room. We want good food. We don't want taco salad 2 nights a week or something like that. Can you give us your top, maybe top 3 or 4 hospitality rooms?
Or the number one?
The Central hospitality rooms, when Janet Harrison and Sheila Miles, that bunch, and then Whitney Coates now is our social media and person at the county office. She run it the last couple of times at Central. Run it. Those was really good. The ones that Barbara Austin run that I can think of was really good.
My number one was, I found out it was Coach Kitty Beavers, Miss Kitty Beavers, and
Monica Brewer.
At Rogers.
At Rogers, I think it was about 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was a little over 10 years ago.
They were top notch.
Yeah.
Well, and that's an area too where the coaches get together. Some of them will start scheduling for next year.
Mm-hmm.
Start scheduling the games. They will start, swapping scouting reports. And it used to really be now the coaches have it a lot easier with the huddle where they can just send film and they don't have to exchange film or talk to one another. And they'll be up. Used to they would be drawing on napkins. And here's what they do, and here's what so and so done when they wouldn't have played that team, and or especially if they would play a team that was out of area that they was going to cross with, that they had they realized they was going to play them probably in the sub-region or so out of the in the postseason at some time. So it was a kind of a networking area that they would work. You football coaches would be scheduling spring football games and all for that year for the jamboree, and so it was an area of time that they all could get together and work on things like that.
Well, we've talked a lot about the past. It's about time to start getting to the present.
I want to ask Coach Bryant. When the last time y'all were the number 1 seed was?
Ooh,
I know Coach Keener was. I think it was.
That's probably 06 with
Rudy Bell, yeah.
Yeah.
Has it been since then?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's been a long time since we've won it as well.
Yeah.
So it's a big week for everybody.
Oh yeah.
Lauderdale and Marseille and
Brooks
have been
I think Wilson won it in maybe 08 or 09, maybe somewhere in there, didn't they? I think they won at Brooks one year. Wilson won it, and I think other than that, it's been those three
Yeah.
that have won it. So
Before we get into the Lauderdale County tournament, David, you want to talk about some non-Lauderdale teams?
Yeah.
What they did this week, and maybe some stat stuffers for boys.
Yeah. Deshler had a big week. They beat Wilson. It was a big area win for them. They dropped one to Florence. Really good Florence team. Florence had a pretty good week. They had dropped a game to James Clemens, but responded. I think it was Friday night against Bob Jones. Got another big area win, and then beat Deshler Saturday. Bryant James Eclipse 2000. You might want to make that announcement of our.
Yeah, Brian
to
James,
Bryant.
you mentioned he got over 2,000 points. He did it against Bob Jones, who won the Huntsville Times Classic. So a big win for them and Coach Burleson. But Bryant James is our Miami Ice Player of the Week for the boys. And, Garrett Reed had a great week. I mean, honestly, I think we just we give the edge a little bit for the milestone and some of the wins. But definitely shout out to Bryant James. He's got a chance to play college basketball somewhere, and his great family, great person, great kid, and we want to congratulate Bryant James on being the Player of the Week.
Another big is Loretto boys. I think is the only undefeated team, boys wise, in the entire state of Tennessee. My research was
college
correct.
included,
and they are pounding people.
And I don't know who they've got to play. They might play, a powerhouse from up there, but I'm going to say they're not going to lose a game watching them play. It's going to take a special team to beat them.
Braxton Glaze scored his 1,000th point of the year this week for Wilson.
That's right.
And so, that was a big.
Colbert County took the lead and control of the area, but Rogers actually controlled the area this week. Had huge wins against Colbert County and Lauderdale County, and we'll kind of get into talking about Rogers here in a little bit, but congrats to Colbert County for winning that area. But again, Rogers is a force to be reckoned with pertaining to that. Most Shoals had big wins against Decatur and Athens. Then we spoke about Florence, and I think that kind of wraps us up as far as outside Upper County.
That Florence area tournament, that's that 7A area tournament's going to be similar to the 4A one we've talked about. It's going to be up for grabs.
Yeah.
Going into it.
And a good team's not going to be advancing.
Yeah, because there's three of them right there: Florence, Bob Jones, and James Clemens. One of those is going to be left out of the regional tournament. So that's a tough area.
I think it wraps us up. Sheffield dropped one to Mars Hill. But I think that's pretty much.
Well, let's get on to the county tournament and pick some games.
Yeah, we're going to pick some games. But first, we're going to talk a little bit to Josh Bryan about, his upcoming match. They're going to play Central Coach in the first game. And, you don't want to look ahead. But I wanted to ask you, given that you talked earlier about the two games you dropped to Brooks, if they're able to beat them, you get to face them again. Now, it's another opportunity for your team should those things happen. Of course, you got to, beat Waterloo, and they've got to beat Lauderdale County, something that they didn't do once this year. They've split with the Tigers in the regular season so far. But do you look at that, if that happens, as a chance to kind of get your team some confidence before the area tournament, or is it a disadvantage?
Well, obviously you got to take care of business Tuesday night first to even get that opportunity. Both of us do. In this game, to me, the county tournament's a pride thing. Going forward, we're trying to get better every day. Like we tried to get better today. You try to get better Tuesday. If you have an opportunity on Thursday, if you have an opportunity on Saturday. But we're just trying to improve every day for the area tournament. And, there's some stuff you want to try different, but at the same time, I don't know that you want to show it because then you might waste it because then they're able to prepare for it for the area tournament. So it's kind of a rock and a hard place there. We obviously got to do something different because they've handled us pretty good both times. I thought we played better Tuesday than we did at Brooks, but to me, it's just a pride thing for everybody in the county, not just us. And I know we're all trying to get better right here going into area play or in the area tournament.
So y'all want to pick the girls bracket first and then the boys, or how do you want to do it?
Let's do the girls first. That sounds good to me.
Okay, so we're going to put up the bracket for this week's game at Brooks that start tomorrow. They'll start tomorrow at 4 o'clock on the girls' side. And that game's going to be Lexington against your Pirates, Coach Prestige.
Yeah, Rogers, they're playing better. They've, again, they've had to figure some stuff out. We are seeing improvement there, though. Lexington's, got a lot of seniors on their team. They're much improved as well, playing better. I hate to say it, I almost don't even want to pick this one, but I'm going to have to go with the Lady Bears in that one.
I got the Lady Bears.
I'm in shock right now. So I was thinking I was going to be the tiebreaker because you were going to go with Rogers.
We still got Scott picking as well.
Goodness. Thank goodness. Our special celebrity guest picker,
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Lady Bears.
Man, I tell you what.
Uh-oh.
I don't know why, but I'm going to go with Lexington, too.
Do you want to go down and go ahead and do Wilson Central and get this side of the bracket?
Oh, yeah. Let's move on to the night game at 7 p.m.
Rival.
The blue team versus the red team, I think. So who you got, David, in that game?
Man, I really want to say Central may upset them. I really do. But I don't know. Wilson, this may be their best season they've had in a long time. I'm going to go with Wilson, but I'm hesitant, and I really could see that being a potential upset.
Yeah, I agree. The first time they played, Wilson won pretty handily. The last time they played, it was much more competitive. After talking with Coach Murphy, I'm impressed with that guy.
Yeah.
I'm going with Central in the upset.
Boats are going to be rolling, he says.
Yeah, well, and I was thinking this was going to be my upset pick of the thing. Coach Oakley at Wilson does a great job. He started out with Coach Bryant. They're having the best year they've had in a long time. But it gets to this time and momentum. A lot of times this momentum takes over. Right now, I think Central's really on the upswing. Look for Coach Murphy to pull the upset in this game.
I got Wilson. I just think a little more experience will show its hand in that game, and I think the Lady Warriors come out ahead and will go on to face Lexington, who I think we unanimously picked in that game.
So for me, that would get me to Lexington versus Wilson, and I would have my Lady Bears yet again
moving on to the championship,
and making it to the county championship.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the first time in a few years.
Yeah, and for me, it would be Lexington Central. I think this will be a payback game for the Lexington Lady Bears. Lexington shoots it really well is one thing I've noticed about them. They shoot it well.
Yeah.
I think that'll be the difference in the game is, their ability to shoot the ball from the perimeter may be a little bit better than Central, so I'd have Lexington advancing to the finals as well.
Yeah, I'd have to go with Lexington to the finals.
Well, look, I got Wilson beating Lexington in that game that'll be Thursday afternoon and advancing to the championship game of the county tournament for the girls' side.
So up top, that would be Lauderdale County and Brooks in the first round game Tuesday night. And
I'll go with Lauderdale.
Lauderdale.
It's going to be the second game.
Oh, I'm sorry. The first game is going to be Mars Hill.
The first game we're going to pick is Mars Hill and Waterloo. But let's go ahead and since you coached the girls over at Waterloo before, let's skip them and let's pick the Lauderdale County Brooks. I got Lauderdale County.
Lauderdale County.
Yeah.
But this is where it gets really interesting. You look at Mr. Green shirt over there. You think of Pride County Tournament. Again, we're thinking the Pride of Waterloo. What will Scott do? Me, I'm loyal to Lexington. I'm going to pick them. But, and I know Coach Jones is not just strictly at Waterloo anymore, but still, there's some hard times
they'll put up a good fight, but in the end, when Mars Hill will be too strong.
Okay.
So we're all going Mars Hill across the board.
So we're all going Mars Hill, Lauderdale County, second round.
Correct.
That's where it gets interesting.
This is the tough one. The matchup, we kind of highlighted and talked about. You know, we feel like both of these teams are state caliber championship teams.
Yeah.
And in order to get there, they're going to have to face each other maybe again. So this would be.
This is what this is going to come down to. Like Coach Bryant mentioned earlier, the coaches aren't going to say it. They're not going to admit it, but they know they're going to see each other again down the road. And they're the two favorites to get to Birmingham out of our region. So what are they going to show in this game? You know, what's their mindset going to be going in this game is going to play a huge factor into it. Would they rather win the county tournament or go to Birmingham? And it might not matter. One team might be just, you know,
that much better
than the other one. But that's going to be a factor in this game as well.
And I'll tell you something here, Coach, that when you get to these games and you know a lot of times you've got that second option, third option, you know, your stars, they're still going to get theirs, but who's that next player that's going to step up that normally averages 6 and has 12 in this game? You know, who's that player that's going to make that big shot that's going to, you know, which one of the players, we call them sometimes role players, which role players win championships, but which one of them role players is going to make a couple of big plays, have a big basket or two in order to put you over the hump and to win that game.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm going with the Lauderdale County Tigers. I think they've got more of those players that can step up. I said, you know, this is going to be billed as the Shiloh Marks Bell Hill matchup. Mm-hmm. But who's the players for the next teams that's going to step up?
Right.
You know, who's going to, you know, make the big shot, get their big rebound, have the big steal to win the game for their team.
I'm going to try to stay consistent. I say, you know, in our big games this year, I've went with the best player on the floor or the best competitor on the floor. Brian Handback's helped me with that a couple of times, being the best competitor on the floor. Marcel's going to have the best player on the floor, I think. I think Marcel might even have the best competitor on the floor. But I'm going to have to change my philosophy because I got to agree with Scott. I'm going Lauderdale County. I think the Lauderdale County on their chest is going to be too much to overcome for Marcel. So I'm going Lauderdale County in a close one.
Well, I think both are very battle tested. And I think both of them have played some really good teams to get to this point. But I want to go back to even that game Saturday with Lauderdale County and the Mississippi school where they hold that player of the year to, I think, 16. Lauderdale County does a really good job of taking away your best player. Now, will they be able to take away Bell? No, I don't think they'll be able to take away, but I do think that they will definitely limit her and make it a lot more difficult. And they just shoot it so well. Like the other night against Lexington, they made 9 threes in the first quarter. Man, they're just, to me, they kind of got they're tall, they're long, they're skilled, and they defend well. I just think they're going to be I don't want to say too much. I got them winning in a closer game.
And what's worked for me is what's worked for you in terms of I often like to pick the team that has the best player on the floor like you. And you're slightly ahead of me in the pick, so I'm kind of hesitant to go with the same pick as you, or I'll never catch up. But I'll be honest with you. I think it's going to be about Bell Hill and Shiloh Marks, but I think, like Scott said, it's going to be about who else it is. And I think that who else is going to be Sarah Smith and her interior defense against Bell that's going to be the determining factor in that game. And for that reason, I'm picking Lauderdale County to advance to the championship.
So that gets us to Lauderdale County versus Lexington.
Or I actually have
He's got Wilson.
I'm still picking Lauderdale County.
I got Lauderdale County.
Lauderdale
County.
I agree.
So Lauderdale County, we've got.
No, wait a minute.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Hold up for a second. We're not annoying them that yet because again they've got to win some games, but certainly the championship game seems to be on Thursday night. So make sure you get over to Brooks Gymnasium to see that game because it's a game that we're excited. Hopefully, it's a game we're able to call too. So we hope to be able to do that. But
I know if I'm coaching Lexington, Rogers, Wilson, or Central, with you just saying the championship game Thursday night, I'm loving that. If your kids are competitive, if they're competitive, so that's definitely. But yeah, I mean, if it goes chalk, the championship game is Thursday night. But whoever's in that game Saturday night's going to show up to compete. I promise you that. So it's still going to be fun to watch. But
championship game is set for Saturday night at 6 p.m. Those games will all be at Brooks High School. Boys, ready to pick the boys?
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm. Are you ready? You're going to pick them with us, aren't you?
I'll stay ready.
Well, I tell you, they start tomorrow also. We'll have a game at 5:30, and that game's going to be the Wilson Warriors and your Lexington Bears, Coach.
I honestly have Lexington in an upset in this one. This is my upset pick. I think that they're playing better basketball than they have been earlier in the year. I think Wilson's playing well too, but I'm going with Lexington in the upset.
Yeah, I was impressed with the way Lexington played Friday night against Lauderdale County. They've improved. They're playing their best basketball, I think, at this point in the season. I know they want to continue to improve, but I was sort of looking at this one too, David, as my first round upset special. So I'm going with Lexington as well.
I'm going to have to go with the Warriors here. Wilson has played some really good basketball in spurts. They've lost some close games. They've been ahead of some good teams going into the second quarter, third quarter. They hadn't put it all together, a full, complete 4 quarters. And so I think they're going to do that in this game, in one of these big games, and I look for Wilson to win.
I agree with you, Scott. I got Wilson in this game too, but watch out for Noah LeMay. He's having a good run here over the last 5 games. He's
reached 1,000 points.
He's really played well, and if he continues to do that, he can give his team a chance there to win that game in the end. But I'm going with Wilson.
Is LeMay finally a senior?
LeMay is finally a senior.
I think he scored 24 on us when he was a freshman. Maybe.
First game of the year.
He's been a good player.
So you're going to go blue or purple? I know you can't say the name.
Or are you? Is he picking? Are you picking?
I don't think you should pick.
He's not picking.
I better not.
Okay.
He was not picking.
That'd be a very good game, though. That'd be a very good game.
So we're up to
the nightcap.
Marshall
and Rogers. And I ran into Rogers' coach, whose team's doing really well this week. I saw him today, and he said they're playing some of their best basketball. So it makes for an interesting opening round game. I think maybe if you look back when the brackets first came out, this was maybe more of a cakewalk, game, but not the way the Pirates are playing right now. Who you got, David?
I think Mars Hill will be too much, but all right, so it's a tournament game, and who's playing well? I think Rogers is playing really, really good basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Coming in, maybe playing their best basketball of the year. I think with Will Robertson and their size, I do think they can, maybe not completely cancel out Eli, but can, have some size to play against that. It's a little homecoming game for Coach Mitchell, who was at Mars Hill for a long time. I coached against him when he was coaching girls there at Mars Hill. I don't know. He does a really good job, and they're playing really well. I just feel like Mars Hill may be too much, but that's also another game I wouldn't be shocked to see Rogers pull the upset in. I'm picking Mars Hill, but I would not be surprised with the way Rogers is playing if Mars Hill looks at Rogers and thinks, we'll just come in, it's a cakewalk, we'll just come in here and beat them, Mars Hill will be beat by Rogers. If Mars Hill comes ready to play, I'm picking Mars Hill to advance, but if they don't come in the right mindset,
I agree. I agree totally, David. And something else that Rogers has been running a four corners offense. It's not a style, but they're being really patient. They're looking to score. And you know, when a team like Mars Hill is supposed to win, but you know, record wise and all that, if they get ahead, if Rogers could come out and get ahead of them and make Mars Hill chase, the pressure goes to Mars Hill. And sometimes that rim, it looks like a thimble up there when the pressure's on, and when you're loose, it looks like, you know, I mean, and the ball looks like a beach ball, and then on the other time you look like, you know, I can throw it up there and it's going in regardless. And so I'm gonna agree with you, David. I'd say I'd pick Mars Hill, but it will not shock me if Rogers pulls the upset.
Yeah.
2-7 game. We should have talked about that, the history of the 2-7 game. That's for like the 5-12 game in March Madness. There's been a lot of times the 7 seed has upset the 2 seed in the county tournament. You know, what Mars Hill does defensively gives teams issues, but I think what Rogers is doing offensively, I don't think it's going to have that much of an effect on them, what they're doing offensively now. I really don't. David mentioned Rogers has size that can, you know, neutralize Eli Pounders. Even though he's playing great, I still think he's going to get his. I'm picking Rogers, and it's not just because I'm from there. I think they're playing much better. I mean, you got to think it was 26-2 at one point. It's 28-6 at the half against Lauderdale County. So they're playing well, and the potential for them has been there all year. You know, they've got a solid group of seniors. The addition of Bo Mitchell has been very nice. I think he has a big game in this one because he obviously used to go to Mars Hill, so I think he'll come out ready to play. But I'm going Rogers.
You know, I was not only going to pick Mars Hill, but I was going to advance him to the championship game, and then I ran into Coach Mitchell, and you know, I kind of saw something in just his eye and talking about his team, and I love the inside out play of Will Robertson and Eli Pounders. He's going to probably be Eli Pounders, but I think what Scott said is real important, that a team that is doing what Rogers is doing is going to frustrate teams. And sometimes when kids get frustrated and they can't feel like they get in rhythm, it can make them make some bad decisions in a game. And
anytime a team does something different, if you look at the teams in college football that have to play the service academies, when they're running the option, doing something different, a lot of times they struggle with it. And
it's like you don't see it much, like defending the triple option or something, or having a coach call multiple timeouts and work on his play. So I'm going with Rogers in this game to pull the upset.
But here's also the deal: Mars Hill's defending 2A state champion. They were also not the county champions last year because you remember the ice and snowstorm we got.
They had to drop out.
They had to drop out to play area games. And there's not many county schools that are playing Mars Hill. So a lot of my context is if they come ready to play, Mars Hill may be circling this as like, this is an opportunity for us to show how good we are and what we can do. So that will be some interesting dialogue to see how they view it. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Obviously, you know, it's a big deal to a lot of us, but do they come in to make a statement, or do they come in and just see how the chips fall?
Well, that means 2 picks for Rogers and 2 picks for Mars Hill. We let you off the hook, Coach Bryant. We're going to ask you to pick this game. You know, they're not in your area or anything, so give us your thoughts on this game.
Like Coach Preston said, Rogers is senior laden, got a really good team. I know they've been spacing the floor and doing not a stall, but really spreading you out and driving
More
it.
deliberate.
The lock left is weird to play against. I'm going to go Mars Hill in this one. I think it's going to be a really tight game, but I think the lock left is going to be a difference maker and just make people play differently and feel differently on the floor. So I think it'll be a close game, but I think Mars Hill late, maybe a easy bucket from Pounders may be the deciding factor.
So let's move to Tuesday, the day you guys play. You'll open up the tournament against Waterloo. So we're going to pick your game now. We won't ask you to pick that game. We know who you would pick if you were picking, but Central and Waterloo. So Scott Jones, you'll be at that game, won't you?
I will be.
You'll be at all the games, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
The Scott Jones Bowl.
Right here, though, Central's
No, don't pick
senior
it yet.
league.
We're not letting you
Okay.
pick. We're going to let
All
you
right.
pick last
All right.
on this.
I'll go
Okay.
ahead. I'll go ahead.
We're
Central.
going to let you pick last.
Central big.
I think it's going to be a rowdy environment because usually if Central and Waterloo do get together, it can bring the worst out. It can bring Hulk Hogan flexing or hand gestures, or can bring a lot of things. I do think it will be interesting. You know, they had a score of 11-5 Friday night. You know, if they get into stall ball, will the Wildcats be able to turn them over? But I do. I got Central.
Well, I'm
Central
1-1 in games picking against Central.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it on this one. I'm taking Josh Bryant's Wildcats to win this game big over the Scott Jones Fighting Warriors at Waterloo.
Waterloo's hurt. Dane Morris is hurt. Don't know if he'll be able to play, but he's been limping, hurt. The Gocher boy had knee surgery. They are really depleted right now. I mean, they've got some kids that play hard, but Central will be too strong in this game for them.
You really appreciate that scouting report, don't you?
You know how people are about injury reports. You never know. It's county tournament week.
He's
And the
hoodwinking
Morris
you.
kid's a really good player. He's a really good player for them. So we'll have to play well. You can't take any game lightly nowadays,
Yeah.
especially in the boys' side. I think that 3-point ball changes
Right.
the game too. And you have a bad game, you never know nowadays. You've got to come to play.
In the nightcap, it's the rubber match from the regular season where Lauderdale County won early on, and Brooks revenged that loss the second time. So they're going to play the night game at 8:30. Who you got in this game, David?
I've got Brooks, but this is another potential upset. Lauderdale County always, man, that county tournament week, they are, even in years past where they've had, you know, better record teams, when they get to the county tournament, it's like they find another gear, another level. I know they've struggled the past few games. I'm going with Brooks, winners of, I think, 10 out of the last 11 games. But, again, historically, Lauderdale County always kind of finds some mojo, some extra juice in this time of the year. Going with Brooks, but wouldn't shock me if Lauderdale County pulled off an upset or it was an extremely close game at all.
And I agree with what you said. I think I know both these programs put a huge emphasis on county tournament week. You know, and that goes at Brooks, that goes all the way back to Coach Willis. That's why it's always been important to me. And when I coached, I tried to make it important to our kids because the county tournament was a huge deal to Coach Willis. So I know it's a huge deal at Brooks, and like David said, it is at Lauderdale County as well. They put a huge emphasis on it. And looking at this game, the way both teams are playing right now, I think it's an easy pick to say, Brooks is going to win because Brooks is playing pretty well right now. Lauderdale County's struggled this last week. I'm going to go with Brooks as well, but I don't think it's going to be an easy game for Brooks. I don't. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a hard-fought game that's going to come down the last few possessions. I think Brooks is going to pull it out, but Lauderdale County is going to come ready to play, I promise you.
Lauderdale County is really young. They've got an 8th grader, a couple of 9th graders, 10th grader. When the Adams kid got hurt, and you hate to see any kid go out, but had a season-ending knee injury back early in the year. I think it's really hurt them as far as their leadership. Brooks is playing really well right now. I'll tell you where they're really playing well is defensively. They can really turn it up. I saw them the other night against Wilson. They turned it up in like the second quarter on defense. Ashley kid really got after, put a lot of pressure on the ball, wouldn't let them run their offense. So like I say, I do think it'll be a pretty close game, but I'm going to have to go with Brooks.
I got Brooks too. I mean, they got it rolling right now. They're at home. Miles Warren, R.J. Gorley, just going to be too much. And I got Brooks getting the W and facing Central. a big game on Thursday, but before they play that game, we'll pick. We've already picked the bottom, haven't we?
Yeah, we picked the bottom.
I'm so
No, we
nervous
haven't-
about. I'm so
we didn't
nervous
get the
about. the
Well,
next
no,
game
we
that-
haven't got the semifinal games yet.
Yeah, I'm so nervous about that pick that I got ahead of myself. But I think we all had the same pick, so we've all got.
We've all
Brooks
got
and
Central and Brooks on the
playing the
top.
semifinals.
And on the bottom,
On the bottom, I'll go ahead and I've got Rogers playing Lexington, and I'm going Rogers big in that one. Even though it's counter, I'm going Rogers big. I think their size and just the way they're playing right now, I think they're going to win that one big. So I'm going Rogers over Lexington in the semifinal matchup.
That would be, for me, Lexington and Mars Hill. I think Mars Hill would present a big problem as far as just size alone. And so I would have Mars Hill advancing in that one.
I'd have Marcel and Wilson, and they're the size. I'm going to have to go with Marcel.
But, man, like, you look at all those, too. Like, my upset pick was Lexington over Wilson. Wilson could beat Lexington.
They could make the finals.
They could make the
Yes.
finals.
They could make the finals.
Absolutely.
It was a rough.
Yeah.
I mean,
And the
I
same
think
for Morris Hill, Rogers.
Yeah.
And honestly, like,
Yeah.
Lauderdale County can make the finals.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
it's wide open.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think if Rogers upsets Morris Hill, I think Lexington could beat Rogers.
Yes.
I think it's better matchup wise for them.
Yeah.
Lexington Morris Hill would be a really bad matchup as far as personnel wise. But that just kind of shows you how good the tournament is.
Oh, yeah.
We've been talking about.
And I have Wilson and Rogers playing in that semifinal, and this is going to be a tough game, a hard game for me to pick. I've got Rogers. I'm riding with their momentum, and that momentum is going to carry them into the championship game.
All right.
And that gets us to Central and Brooks.
Central and Brooks.
It's a big
Want
one.
to go first?
Sure,
want to?
I'm awful hot though. You go ahead and pick. I got to take my jacket off. It's cold outside, but inside it's a little warmer. You go ahead and pick though.
Central Brooks. I went with Central last week. Brooks is hosting. It's their tournament. We'll go with the Brooks Lions. That game. He's on my blind side, so if he does anything crazy, y'all holler.
It's on camera.
So I went with Brooks last week against Central as well. Not thinking about the county tournament. I was thinking about them possibly playing again down the road in the area tournaments. I think what Coach Bryant sort of said earlier about the future and possibly having to play this team again is going to come into play here. I really do, because some programs, and I'm not saying one's right and one's wrong, some programs put more of an emphasis, which everybody puts the emphasis on the postseason area tournament. I think just with Coach Merckx and Brooks, they're hosting their tournament. He played for Coach Willis. County tournament's important to him. I think Brooks is going to come in ready to play. I really do. And I think it's two really good teams. Could go either way. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game, but I'm going Brooks in the end over Central.
Well, what you're talking about there, putting the emphasis on it, but can it be too much emphasis?
True.
Can you put enough pressure? That Brooks is at home. They beat Central twice. Can the pressure? The pressure's on them. Central can go into this loose. We're not supposed to win. Let's us against the world type mentality into a tournament, and can really play loose. Central's got to find a way to beat the Brooks pressure to get down to run their offense a little better with like I say, Brooks's guards putting so much pressure that they kind of took them out of it the other night. But then again, I have seen Brooks early in the year that they didn't shoot it well, and so they when they didn't shoot it well, that they didn't play as good. Foul trouble could be a big factor in this game. It's hard to bet against Brooks being at home, but I'm gonna pick this as the upset here, and I'm gonna go with Central.
It's not an upset. They're the number one seed.
They've lost two. That's
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Listen, if we would have picked it a month ago, I would have picked Brooks not only to win this game, but to maybe move on and win the whole tournament.
Yeah.
I think given they're at home, just the players they have. I mean, they're a complete team. But I tell you, there's some chinks in their armor, and what I've noticed is, Coach Bryant doesn't run a lot of zone, but zones have hurt them. Now they can shoot the ball, but if you stretch out that zone a little bit and kind of, run them off the 3-point line and not get them in the paint, when R.J. Gorley gets going downhill and Miles Warren and some of those guys, they're hard to defend. But I just feel like that, along with some of the decisions they make when they get press on them, are going to be the difference. And I've watched, Central probably lost around 20 points, then they lost by 9 or so, and they're just kind of finding their way against this team. And I may get run out of killing where I live for picking, but I'm going with the Central Wildcats in this game. I really think
didn't disrespect the jersey this weekend.
No.
I thought he was going to wear
I
it.
wanted a jersey. I tried to get a jersey, but
and kind of on what you was talking about there, somebody gets in foul trouble. Either way, you have a kid roll their ankle. This whole tournament could change.
Oh yeah.
It's that evenly matched.
It's that evenly matched that somebody just misses a few free throws.
Yeah.
It's that kind of deal that how's the game going to be officiated? And that's not saying it's favoring one or the other, but is it closely called, or they let them play? And
that's
so,
definitely a huge factor.
who they let them put their hands on them in the backcourt. Kind of impede the progress of the guard, or do they call the hand check, and how they let them play in the paint? Do they let them?
That gets me to Brooks, Morris Hill, finals wise. What does that get you to, Blake?
Brooks, Rogers,
Central Marseille.
Scott?
I got Central and Rogers in the championship. And I'm rowing the boat all the way back to Central Heights with the Central Wildcats, who
winning the county tournament.
Will win the county tournament on Brooks's home floor.
Called it right here.
Scott?
I'm going to have to go with the same as you, Scott. I'm going to have to row the boat.
Well, I can't pick the Central because I don't have them in the finals. I got Rogers and Brooks. I'm going to have to go Brooks. I think they're playing too well right now at home. I think Brooks is going to win the county tournament next week. David?
I've got Brooks and Morris Hill. Brooks having all the pressure on them to win it. Morris Hill comes in and plays spoiler and steals the county tournament.
They played already. It was a game down to the end.
It was early, though.
It was.
It was early.
And then, like old time's sake, they're going to turn around and play Morris Hill on Monday. They used to always
do that. Yep.
Used to always be an old thing. But no, I got Morris Hill kind of sneaking their way in there, and all the pressure being on Brooks playing at home, and in a packed gym that hopefully Triple Threat will be calling.
Yep.
It's going to be fun.
It
this
really
could
is
go a
wild.
variety of ways. Yes,
it is
really
wild.
Is.
It is.
And it's usually every year there's 2 or 3 really good teams, but I think top to bottom, this might it could play out could be some really, really good games. Even first round, second round, the championship could be really good basketball.
It's a true NCAA type tournament feel.
It is.
Any of these teams that you feel like could. Any of these teams that may be playing their best week this week, and like Blake was talking about, this is what makes you go gray-haired and bald or whatever in coaching, that your kids they're teenagers. And one week they may be on top of the world, and then the next week they may not even look like the same team. There's so many of these teams that if they're playing their best on this coming week, could potentially go win it.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't tell you the last time that we've had. Just the first round matchups. We got 3 first round matchups right there that are going to be great games.
Yeah,
could go either what. So
right.
You're right. It's going to be a sleepless nights for our boys coaches in Lauderdale County this week because they're either going to win that first round game and then they're going to be worried about the semifinal game, or they're going to lose the first round game and they're going to stay up all night thinking about what could we have done and the opportunities we missed to win the game. So I know Coach Bryant knows all about those nights, so we're happy.
And like you keep saying, you're relying on 16, 17-year-old kids to show up. And you never know this time of year, and that's what it makes it scary as a coach. Is you hope your team is in the right frame of mind. And, just even for us looking at it today, we've got an early start on Tuesday. If we can win Tuesday, you get a late start on Thursday night. So you got a lot of factors, and then for all of us, it should be big atmospheres, and it can prepare you leading into the area tournament, whereas we've been in some big atmospheres, but it should help you leading up to this area tournament as well. Yeah.
Well, that's my challenge to the county schools is post-COVID, I feel like the crowds have really not been near what they were, like Blake was talking about when we were growing up, or some of these other. My challenge is that Brooks is packed out and you get to kind of relive some of those electric atmospheres where it's standing room only and there's rows of people standing around the balcony. That's what I would love to see.
One good thing about it being at Brooks is it's centrally located.
It is.
So maybe that'll help having a big crowd there. Yeah.
And get out and watch these teams again.
Absolutely.
These are good
quality basketball.
Good quality basketball. Yeah. You're going to get your money's worth. Do you know how much they're charging to get in?
It's $10.
Well, and support these kids. They're going to make memories that'll be there for for a lifetime. And you still go around. You'll go around this week to some of the stores. Well, it's got the little tables where the guys sit around and eat a biscuit in the morning. You go to the Minute Bucket, the Pirates Corner, Haddock's Quick Stop, Cousins, they all around the county, and you'll hear them talking about, and they'll be talking about 1971 in the county tournament, when we played so-and-so hit that big shot, and, it's things like that they'll cherish and remember for a lifetime. These kids now, they're 16, 17 years old, and you think, well, they won't. Well, let them get to be 30, let them get to be 40, 50, and those memories that they'll have of those things like the county tournament and playing in a packed atmosphere, packed gym.
That environment almost rivals the memory of the result.
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
You remember the result, but you also, that memory of what the environment was like rivals it, because it was like, man, that was just, you can get chill bumps thinking about those moments that you were in as a player, coach, and they're enjoyable times. So I'm excited to see it, and hopefully Triple Threat will be bringing coverage live through NFHS this week. We're hoping to make that happen.
Before we go, I want to make a proposal here, and this is not involving the county tournament, but since we have Coach Bryant here, there's a chance that their area could have to go to a coin flip. If it does, I'm going to propose that we do that coin flip right here on the Triple Threat podcast live, if we could. Coach, what do you think about that?
I would love it. I know we have the meeting setting up for the 27th at the Sam Sports Grill.
Okay.
In Florence. We might have to.
Well, we might not be able to do it, but I was just going to throw that out there.
I know you covered it many years ago.
Yeah.
We flipped a coin. I wish there was a better way. I honestly wish we could get away from the area tournament.
I bet Rusty and Brown would be good coming here.
Oh, kind of like Friday Night Lights, where they meet somewhere in a neutral site, and let's flip the coin.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool.
I think it would be cool, and I tell you what, we look forward to all these games, and we want to thank both you, Scott Jones, and you, Coach Bryant, for being here tonight and helping us cover the county tournament and just talk some basketball. We've really enjoyed it, and we look forward to these games. So, viewers, get out to Killen this week. A lot of exciting games on both girls and boys side, but we're out of time. So for my co-host Blake Prestige and David Hill, I'm Scott Whittle, and want to thank our presenting sponsor and our producer from Platinum Tier Events, Jeremy Kiefer, for putting the show together, and we look forward to seeing you next week.